Well, happy Tuesday, everyone. This is Laura from Front Office Rocks, and I am here not with Santa Claus, or is it the Cat in the Hat? I'm not even really sure. I'm here with Dayna Johnson from Novonee, and it is the holiday, so she decided to dress in her holiday spirit. Hi, Dayna, and welcome to another webinar with us.
Thank you, Laura. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I just had to tone up the fun a little bit, and put on my Dr. Seuss holiday hat. Do you like it?
I just went live I have a Ravens hat. I'm a Baltimore Ravens fan. I went live on Friday with it, but it's still in my car because I wore it over the weekend. So you'll have to be our festive one. So thank you for everyone joining us. I know everyone's logging in right now. I just have to say that this is our second webinar together with Dayna from Novonee, and we're specifically focusing on Dentrix in this webinar. And it's also our second highest registered webinar ever. And I think we're going to hit records because I'm seeing how many attendees we have logging in right now. I think this might be the most attended webinar we've had so far with Front Office Rocks. So we've got a lot of Dentrix people out there who need to learn and want to learn from Dayna. So I'm really glad you're here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you and Novonee, and then we'll get started with the training.
Well, thank you, Laura, for having me. It's really a pleasure and an honor to be able to address your audience, your members, and all the Dentrix users in the world. I came from the dental industry 20 plus years ago and worked for 2 dental practices, and I became a certified Dentrix trainer in 2006. And so I've been a trainer for almost 13 years, which has been awesome. I love it. And I left my practice in 2014 to pursue training and consulting and doing webinars with people like you full-time. So that's been my full-time job for a while. Helping just create Dentrix super users all over the world is my passion.
That's awesome. Well, we're really glad. So if you don't know Front Office Rocks, if this is your first time seeing me, I'm the owner of Front Office Rocks, and I am all about training the dental front office team members. And I train on customer service, telephone skills, verbal skills, everything that we do in the front. I have used Dentrix in the past. I used EagleSoft in the past. But man, I was just looking at Dentrix with you before we got started, and oh, wow, it would take me a little bit to get back into it. So I bring in people like you who are experts in a certain area to help our team members. And as they said, I mean, there's always a need to learn and grow, especially with software. There's always new things coming up. It is the end of the year. I think we're going to talk a little bit about that. And, it's been a year since some of the things have been done. You tend to forget. Maybe there's not shortcuts, or now you can learn shortcuts. So we're going to get started in that. What we're going to do is just, so everybody who hears live, on the right-hand side, you should see a chat function. So in order to let Dayna focus, what we're going to do is that Dayna's got a PowerPoint and is going to go into Dentrix and start jumping around. I'm going to be monitoring the questions, and then I will jump in with the questions where they make sense for Dayna. I will ask the questions if we're in an area that makes sense, or I'll save them and ask them to her at the end. So please send us all your questions, and then we'll also give you our contact information. Dayna and I are both available to you if you want to know anything about dental front office, rock stars and training, or anything about Dentrix. We're both available to you. So on that note, let's get started, Dayna. So if we want to go ahead, we wanted to start our video so you guys could see our pretty faces, our cat in the hats, but we're going to turn our videos off now, and Dayna's going to switch it over to Dentrix since that's what we're looking to learn. And again, make sure you guys add your questions, send them over. Even if we don't get them all addressed in this webinar today, we're going to make sure that we reach out to you with the answers. So Dayna, if you can go ahead. I'm not seeing you share the screen yet.
Yep, there we go. All right. So I'm going to start off.
Here we go.
I'm going to start off with just kind of giving people a little bit of idea about where we're going today. Our topic for today is Dentrix tips and tricks for managing dental benefits. Now, I worked in the dental office for over 18 years, 2 dental practices, being an insurance coordinator and financial coordinator for, over 18 years. And now I help offices to optimize their Dentrix software. But with all the insurance craziness, it's sometimes hard to manage the dental plans and be able to give your patients the most accurate estimates. So I wanted to go through these topics for you today. So we're going to talk first a little bit between the difference between fee schedules and write-offs. There's basically 2 different ways that you can do this in the Dentrix world. Either you're going to use fee schedules, or you're going to do the write-off method. And I want to talk a little bit about the pros and cons of each, and then show you the setup for each of those to make sure that you are setting up your system as best as possible. So you can be able to give your patients the most accurate treatment plan estimates that you can, and be able to, you know, collect money as easily and most efficient as possible. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about how to handle all those insurance exceptions. You know, with the insurance industry just creating, you know, the insurance management, it's so stressful and it's so challenging to deal with all these insurance exceptions and limitations and frequencies and things like that. So Dentrix can handle some of them. It can't handle all of them. So we're going to talk about like what you can and cannot do. And then as we're going along, I do want you to ask questions. If it's specific to the topic that I'm on right now, please ask your question to Laura so she can interrupt me and ask. If it's a general question, then we'll wait to the end. So let's switch over to my Dentrix software here. All right, so you all, Laura, can you see my appointment book now?
I can see it. Yep, I see you have an appointment at 10 you're late for.
I know, I need to get in and get my teeth cleaned. So just so everybody in the audience knows, I am on the current version of Dentrix G7.1. Which is the latest, greatest Dentrix version. So if you see something, an icon that might look different from your version that you're using at your office, then that might be the reason. Just because I upgraded to 7.1 just like a week ago, and I wanted to check out all the new features. Just one quick tip is that we have a new amazing integration with Care Credit that was just launched in 7.1, so I'm super excited about that. But we're going to talk about insurance. So first of all, I want to kind of define first the difference between fee schedule method and the write-off method, because these are your two options in the Dentrix world. Fee schedules is when you are using your contracted or your reduced fee plans. And in Dentrix, you can use fee schedules, your contracted fees, for the patient's treatment plans and the patient ledger. Or you can use what's called the write-off method, which is you use one fee schedule for everybody, your UCR, your full fee schedule, and then as the insurance checks come in and the payments come in, then you make an adjustment. You post an adjustment to the patient's ledger. Now I'm going to tell you what the pros and cons are for using these different methods. With fee schedules, many of you might know me. There's probably a lot of people in the audience that have worked with me directly, or you've read some of my blog posts, and you might know that I am a big fan of using fee schedules. The pros of using fee schedules is, number one, you can give the patient the most accurate treatment plan estimate. Number two, your patient's ledger is accurate. It already reflects the insurance write-off, so you can accurately collect your over-the-counter payments very easily. And you can send billing statements in real time because your patient ledger is accurate. You don't have to wait for that insurance payment to come in and post the write-off and then send the patient a billing statement. And then number three is you can view your production. So if you're looking at your appointment book and you're looking at your production here on your appointment book view, you can see all your production in net production instead of the inflated gross production. And then all your reports are in net production. Now, the cons of using fee schedules is that a lot of doctors, a lot of accountants want to see that write-off. They want to see the adjustment. So when you're using fee schedules, you will not have any adjustments on the patient's ledger from the insurance plans because it's already built into the fee. Now, with the write-off method, of course, the pros of using a write-off method is you can track your adjustments on an adjustment report. You can see that a little bit more clearly on a report, whereas if you're using fee schedules, you're going to have to dig for that write-off a little bit deeper, and I can help you, show you some tips on finding that adjustment amount on some of your reports. So,
hey Dayna, I have a couple questions for you, just to be clear. Again, it's been a while since I've been a Dentrix user, so I mean, it's good for me to ask. I'm sure it's going to help somebody else. So for an office, do you need to make the decision across the board to do it one way or the other? Or
yes.
Okay, so it's either you're following the fee schedules or you're doing the write-off method.
Yeah, you don't really have the option of dabbling in parts of it. So, you know, if you're contracting, I mean, you can decide which plans you want to use fee schedules for and which plans you don't. You know, maybe you're contracted with 10 plans and you decide we're only going to use fee schedules for 5 of them. And you could do that.
Okay.
You know, or if you are pretty much a fee for service practice, but you're only contracted with, say, Delta Dental, then I would highly recommend putting in your Delta Dental fee schedule. You will get much more accurate data if you use fee schedules.
So for me, one of the things that I teach at the end of the year is when doctors don't realize, they talk about how busy they are and then how they're not making enough money sometimes.
Yeah.
And so I recommend showing them how much we're writing off when you're in network for a lot of these insurances.
Yeah.
So that would be the one thing. There is a way though, if you use fee schedules, that you would be able to get a general idea of how much you're writing off. Okay.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'll set complete this entire day, because some of the patients we're going to look at are on fee schedules and some of the patients on here are not on fee schedules. So we'll set complete this entire day, and then I'll show you on the day sheet what that might look like.
Perfect.
Yeah. So first, with the setup between fee schedules and write-offs, if you were going to use fee schedules, you're going to use this fee schedule setup. And so you may have 3 plans in here, you may have 10. I've seen some offices with hundreds of fee schedules.
Are you off the schedule now? Because I see a sort of waiting thing. Did you move?
Oh, do I have to keep like resharing different parts of?
No. Technology, don't we love it? Right now I still see your, so maybe try to reshare again the screen.
Yeah, let's try and reshare it.
And this is, there you go, now I can see it. And this is a good question, actually. Someone just brought this up. We're talking about fee schedules.
Yeah.
If you're a Delta Premier provider and they don't give you a fee schedule, how would you do the fee schedule then?
Yeah, that's a great question, because Delta Premier is one of those exceptions, which is, you know, kind of a pain to do because they don't give you a fee schedule because they don't want to. They want you to be PPO. So that's a tough one. Either you have to kind of put it in as you get the payments, or just use your full fee with Delta, because Delta Premier doesn't give you a fee schedule.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did you get to the fee schedule maintenance screen that you're on? Because we missed that one.
So do you see how I'm navigating now?
Yep, now we can see it.
Okay. So here is the fee schedule setup.
Got it.
Yep. And so you've got, you know, in this test database I have here, I've got 8 different fee schedules. So, you know, here is where you would actually maintain your fee schedule. So if you do get an update from Aetna, you know, you would have to go in here to edit your fee schedule and update your fees as the new fee schedule comes in. Maybe they up their exam fee to $35 and then you go through each of the procedures. So this is where you'd actually come in and maintain your fee schedules. You know, you can export them out to an Excel spreadsheet if you wanted to, things like that. And then if you do add a new fee schedule, or if you have a fee schedule that gets updated occasionally, you can click on this treatment plan fees button and update your treatment plan fees for any patients that are linked up to that fee schedule. But this is where all the kind of the maintenance is for your contracted fees.
If you were drop out of one or don't want it anymore, is there a way to delete one? A fee schedule?
You know, I don't know that you would necessarily have to delete it. You would just kind of unlink it from the patients. Or
Okay.
what you could also do is, if you're not going to use that fee schedule anymore, you could copy your office fees into that fee schedule, and then it would revert back to posting out your full fees.
Full fees. Okay.
Now, if you're going to be adding a brand new fee schedule, like you just signed up with MetLife or you just signed up with Guardian, what I recommend is creating a new fee schedule. So let's say this is your new one. And what I would recommend starting with first is copying your full office fees into that fee schedule first. And then going through and editing just each individual procedure that may be different from your full fee. Because with fee schedules, not every procedure code is going to be listed on there. And so for any of the procedure codes that aren't listed on the, say, the Guardian fee schedule, then we would want to make sure you're billing out your full fee for any of those procedures, like you know, a night guard or some kind of rare things like grafting or things like that.
And two thoughts on this for anybody listening to this. Only very trained people should be playing with the fee schedules. It shouldn't be something that's just, you know, willy-nilly put in there.
Exactly.
And I know going through fee schedule, it should be done at a time where it's quiet, you're uninterrupted, and you can get through it the whole way through versus in the middle of the day when you're answering phones. Because if mistakes are made, you could be billing out a lot of things at the wrong fee.
Exactly. So once you get your fee schedules in there, then the second step is we link them up to the insurance plans. And so if we look at our first patient here, if we go to his family file, now this is a big one because this is where a lot of people that are using fee schedules might not have the setup done correctly. I've seen many, many times where offices are putting the fee schedule in. Let's see if I can use a pen. I can draw. A lot of offices are putting in the fee schedules here. Oh, you see that? Ooh, that's kind of interesting. And so, but what you want to do is don't put the fee schedule up here.
So just so that I understand, that fee, if you put the fee schedule there, it's tying that fee schedule to that patient, not to the insurance. So
exactly.
If insurance changes, it wouldn't change. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So now, how do I get my mouse? Okay. So the most important thing is that that the fee schedule is linked to the insurance plan. So one thing I always remind my offices that I'm working with, the insurance fee schedule belongs to the plan. It does not belong to the patient. And that's really important. So you just asked the question, what if you stop using fee schedules? Then you could come in here and unlink them from the plan. But you do have to do that individually. But if you're going to start using fee schedules, this is where you're going to link up the insurance fee schedule is to the plan, the insurance plan, not the patient.
Now, for the offices that are out of network, if they were fee for service, could they build a fee schedule based off of insurance payments as it comes in? Do you recommend that, or no, just stick with the write-off method?
Right, because if they're out of network, they're not going to be using a fee schedule.
Right.
They're going to be posting out their full fee. So fee schedules.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, fee schedule is what you're allowed to charge.
Got it.
Yeah, and then the second piece to this that I want to talk about is the insurance claim format. So when you're using fee schedules, and if you're going to use fee schedules, you're going to be posting out the contracted fee and the to the patient's ledger and the treatment plan. So here's we're going to be putting in the fee schedule. Now, another thing is we want to make sure that you're posting out or sending on the claim form your full fee. So you'll notice here the claim format that I put a little arrow on right there, the DX 2012 with the F at the end. What the F does is it ignores the patient's ledger and it puts full fee on the claim form. So what that means is that even though you're using a fee schedule on the patient's ledger, just in case the insurance company may have increased their fees, the insurance companies are going to get full fee on the claim.
And actually, that's a good question, because I teach that too, and I learned from years ago, you should always submit your full fee.
Yes.
And the real reason, I say there's two reasons. There's a small chance the insurance company will pay more. Maybe we missed it or something, right?
Exactly.
And then secondly, I think that your patient should see, and I don't know if they'll see it with Dentrix or not, but they should see that what your full fee is and that they're getting a lower fee because you do belong to their insurance.
Right, exactly. And so that's really important, because especially if a patient has dual insurance. So let's say, for example, that the patient has dual insurance and primary is a fee schedule plan, but secondary is not. And so the primary fees are going to post to the ledger. And if you send fee schedule fees to the insurance companies, then you could potentially be missing out on an increase in your revenue based on insurance companies paying more on your full fee.
That's a good example. Yeah.
Really important.
Two questions we got. What happens if the patient maxes out and we're allowed to charge the office fee? Won't this automatically charge the fee schedule fee and not the office fee?
Yes, that is correct. And so that is one thing that Dentrix is struggling to do. I mean, we don't have a way of flipping it back and forth. And so and that is dependent on the plan and dependent on your state, because not every state and not every plan allows you to bill full fee, even if the patient is maxed out. So you do have to double check with the plan and your state to see if you're even allowed to do that. But if you are allowed to bill full fee, you can change that on the patient's ledger or treatment plan before it gets sent to the patient in an estimate or gets billed to the patient. So, but you will have to do that manually if you're using fee schedules.
Okay. And then someone says if they don't have the updated Dentrix, do they not have access to submit that DX 2012 F form that you're talking about?
No, that's been available for a very, very long time, even since probably G4, G5. It's been around for forever. If they don't have that claim form in their system, they can add it in the definitions. So they'd have to go here into the practice setup in the definitions and then add it here with the claim format. And they can just add it in here as a new claim format.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a way to pull a report to audit which fee schedules are attached to which existing insurance plan or to each existing insurance plan?
So you can do a list to find out what patients are attached to which fee schedules. If you wanted to check the specific plans, I would probably go in here to your insurance maintenance, and then you're just going to have to really go in individually and see which ones are linked up and which ones aren't.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you gave the example of if the insurance paid more, let's say the primary and secondary, if the insurance does pay more, how do you show that in the ledger?
You do a positive adjustment. So what I recommend is creating a positive adjustment type called adjust to insurance fee schedule. So that if the secondary does pay more than primary and the patient's ledger ends up in a credit, that they offset that credit with a positive adjustment and bring that patient ledger balance up to 0. Because one thing that the offices need to remember is that the patient can never pay more than the contracted fee allows, but the office is allowed to collect from the insurance companies up to their full fee. So, for example, if you charge out $1,000 crown, for example, and your contracted fee for primary is $1,000 and your full fee is $1,500, and let's say that the primary pays $500, but secondary pays 80% on crowns, and they end up paying over that $1,000. Let's say they get $1,250 between both insurance companies, so the patient's ledger ends up with a $250 credit. They can offset that credit with a positive adjustment because they are technically allowed to collect up to $1,500, which is their full fee.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's great. All right. You might be asking this. This is the last question that's been asked, so we can be caught up, and you might be handling this later or not. But early on, Lisa asked, would like to know if there's a tip for easier estimate for posterior composite reductions. So I don't know if you're, okay.
Yeah, we're going to get to that for sure.
Good. Okay, good. We're all caught up on questions then, so I'll let you keep going.
Okay. So just so you can see here that this family has Blue Cross Blue Shield. I'm just going to set some of these appointments complete so you can see that, kind of what the ledger looks like. And then so that we can do a day sheet at the end of the day to show you what the write-off might look like. Whoops.
And for those of you who might be brand new watching this, she should have made the next continuing care appointment, but we're not discussing that in this webinar.
No, this is not
my front office trainer hat there.
Not a continuing care webinar. That should be our next topic though. That
would be great. Yeah, and anybody listening, if you have suggestions, questions for topics, please let us know, because Dayna and I would love to train on whatever you guys need.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I'm just gonna batch up these claims just so you can kind of get an idea of what we're looking at. Now, if we have a patient who, let's say this patient, Cam Chancellor, used to be a Seattle Seahawk, who's
Seahawk fan over there.
I know. Let's say, for example, that this patient originally had emeritus with Cigna as the fee schedule, and let's say he walks in and he says, oh, I have new insurance, and you're going to change his insurance plan to a new company. It doesn't automatically switch over the fees. So let's say, for example, he now has, MetLife. He now works for Chevron, and now he has MetLife, which is a different fee schedule. So now if you wanted to update his treatment plan, then you can open up his treatment planner and update the fees for that existing treatment plan. Because when you attach a fee schedule to a patient, it only goes forward in the future. So if the patient has an existing treatment plan, you would have to go in here to his treatment plan and update his treatment plan fees, and then notice that it moved the fee of the root canal from $1,228 to $937, because that's his new contracted fee with MetLife.
And on a side note, if the office is listening and it is the end of the year, and a lot of people do fee increases across the board, so not even just fee schedule, but their UCR fees, they would need to do that also with the treatment plans if they're going to update to the new fees in existing treatment plans, correct?
That is correct. Okay. Yes. So let's just talk a little bit about how to make sure that your insurance estimates are as accurate as possible, whether you're using fee schedules or the write-off method.
All right, I'm going to interrupt 1 second because we did get one more question about fee schedules since you're in there.
Okay.
If a patient has two insurances, which insurance fee schedule should we link to the patient? Well, they said to the patient chart, which I don't know if the primary insurance only pays for preventative and doesn't pay for anything else, should we link the secondary insurance fee schedule to the patient? What are your thoughts on two insurances?
Well, if the patient does have dual, I would put both plans. Both of them will have fee schedules. The Dentrix will use the primary fee schedule as the posting to the ledger. So if a patient has a primary and the primary only covers preventative, it's still going to post a fee to the patient's ledger, and you're just going to have a coverage percentage as 0. It's not going to pay any of that preventative, or it's not going to pay any of the restorative. So, but I would link up the fee schedule to both the primary and the secondary. Yeah.
Okay. We had another Hawks fan on here, Seahawks, so go Hawks. I'm a Ravens fan. Just be careful there.
I know.
And if you do an update to the UCR on January 1st, do you have to update them individually, or is there a batch update for treatment plans?
There is a batch update, and it's on the office manager. If you go into your fee schedule maintenance, see this treatment plan button right here?
Yep.
You can update your treatment plan fees across the board.
Got it.
Yeah.
Now, my 2 cents, I don't know how you feel about Dayna. This is kind of a little consulting thing for me.
Okay.
I don't necessarily, in my office, we didn't go ahead and update all the treatment plan fees if patients were already in active treatment, getting the treatment done.
Yeah.
Because we quoted them one fee, and now January 1st, we have a higher fee. So if they were actively working on treatment plans, going through it, we would honor the fee we quoted them originally. And then any new treatment plans are after maybe March 1st. If they haven't gotten anything done, we updated everybody. Do you agree with that?
I agree with that. Definitely if a patient is in active treatment. And when you do that update treatment plan fees, you get to choose an expiration date. So if you are adding expiration dates to your treatment plan estimates, then it will look at that expiration date and update the fees accordingly. So
Nice.
that is an option for you.
Okay. And then somebody asked, if you put the office fee schedule in the family file, will that override the other fee schedules in insurance field if the patient has 2 insurances?
Yeah.
But early on, would we use the family office fee schedule in the family file?
So if you put the fee schedule here in the family file, it will override the insurance plan fee schedule. This one takes precedent. So that's why I don't recommend putting it here if you're using insurance fee schedules. The only time I recommend putting a fee schedule here is if it's, for example, a membership plan. A lot of offices now are doing membership plans like clear membership plans. And if the office has a reduced fee schedule for their membership, then I would put that fee schedule here. So only for cash patients.
Got it. Okay. Awesome. All right. Now we're ready to go.
All right. So to try and make your estimates as accurate as possible, whether or not you're using fee schedules or write-offs, there is some tips here that I want you to write down or keep mental note of. The first thing is the coverage table. So the coverage table here should be as accurate as possible. So this is where you're going to put in what's the maximum for the plan, what's the deductible, and then down here, what's the coverage percentages for each classification of service. And so if you are using fee schedules, you want this coverage table to be as accurate as possible, okay? If you are not using fee schedules, then you may want to consider reducing this coverage percentage down. So for example, if you're out of network or you're not using fee schedules, then you may want to consider reducing the basic restorative down to 65% instead of 80%. Just to give you a little bit of a buffer, so you're estimating on the low end, and so you're not estimating high, where you might not get that much from the insurance company if you're out of network or you're not using fee schedules.
I'm going to jump in on that too, just for anybody listening to this, especially if you're somewhat new. I agree with that 100%. That's what we did in our office. That's what I teach. Just so everybody listening understands why. I would rather underestimate what the insurance is going to pay and have the patient end up with a credit than tell the patient that they're going to cover 100% and have them end up with a balance. So if they say they're going to cover 100% of a cleaning, but we know that they're not because their allowed fees are lower than ours, I'd rather go to 85%. If the patient goes, but this doesn't make sense, I get 100% cleaning, I explain it to them that we would rather underestimate because the insurance will find many reasons to not pay towards things. And then if you have a credit, we'll reimburse you the credit. But we'd rather have you have a more realistic picture than trying to tell you that they're going to cover. So yeah, I recommend going down by 15% on all of them if you're concerned they're not going to pay the full fee.
Yeah, if you're out of network or if you're using the write-off method, I would highly recommend reducing your coverage percentage. So that's kind of your first line of defense when you are providing patients with an estimate. Now, the second line of defense here is your payment table. The payment table will override the coverage table. And it's really important to know what the payment table does exactly. So the payment table is not a percentage. It is a straight flat fee. So for example, it's great for the exceptions. We had a question earlier about posterior composite downgrades. This is the perfect spot to put in those posterior composite downgrades. So for example, insurance companies are going to pay on the amalgam fee, not the composite fee. So what we want to do is we want to calculate if the insurance company is going to pay 80% of the amalgam fee. What we're going to do here is we're going to put in the composite code with that calculation of the amalgam fee. So for example, let's say your amalgam fee is $100. Insurance is going to pay 80% of that. So they're going to pay $80 towards the composite for that amalgam fee. Does that make sense?
Completely. And I think there's two other questions that came in that this would be a good example. So they'd said if some plans pay different for some radiographs than other radiograph, or one procedure is paid at 80% versus 100, that's where you would put these exceptions in.
Yes, for some, if there's a different procedure code,
by code, yeah.
Yeah, it is by code, because there is a different code for each posterior composite. We have the 2391, maybe this is 50, they're going to pay $50. But if it's like, they're going to pay, 50% on a bicuspid tooth and 0 on a molar, we don't have those same types of calculations because, a crown is a crown is a crown, no matter if it's a posterior tooth or an anterior tooth. If you're the porcelain crown code, the 2740, we don't have a different code for an anterior tooth or a posterior tooth.
Right.
If this plan pays 0 for gold crowns, you could come in here and do the 2790 that they pay 0. And this is a good way to calculate for those exceptions. Another good one is your night guard. If this plan does not cover night guards, they're going to pay 0 on occlusal guards, then you would come in and put this into the payment table. So the difference with the payment table between using fee schedules and write-offs is if you're using fee schedules in your practice, then be very, very cautious of how you use the payment table. You would use the payment table very sparingly because you want your coverage table to be the primary calculation method. If you're using write-offs or you're out of network, then by all means use the payment table as much as you want. It's a really great way to help your office get more accurate, better estimates because you have no idea what the insurance companies are going to pay. So the payment table is really great. Use it as much as you want if you're not using fee schedules. Use it very sparingly if you're using the fee schedule method.
And I actually teach that on one of the videos with Front Office Rocks about as the claims are coming in, as you're getting paid, if you're out of network, which my practice was, you could go in and update the payment table then so that you would know what the payment patients are, or what the insurance is going to pay towards a code.
Exactly.
We have a question on the payment table. We found that it does not take into the deductible into account. Is there a way to fix that?
There's not. That is not, that is correct. That's kind of a bummer. I wouldn't say it's a bug because it is working as they designed it, but I do think that it does need to be changed. But you're correct. It doesn't take the deductible into account.
And then I have one, I might be wrong on this. So Dayna, this might be something we're going to do live here on the video. I was under the impression, or somebody taught me once before, not payment table, but in the other, the other one, what's it called? I forgot.
Coverage
yes.
table.
That you could take posterior composites and actually do down in the codes, do a separate breakout of the code and then lower the percentage for that in the coverage table. Is that true?
Yes, you can do that. So you can come in here to the coverage table and let's say you want to, you want to break out your posterior composites. You could come in here and change this to, $22.99, and then you could have a new category for $2,300 to $23.99, and then you could change this coverage percentage to a lower percentage and maybe keep this one at 80 or whatever you wanted to do.
Yeah, that's what we did. Just for the ones we didn't actually have the payment table information from.
Yeah, and that's an option. It's a little bit more work, but it's definitely doable.
Okay. Yeah. Now, so just to be clear, because we're getting some questions here. So the payment table for insurances, if you're out of network, you do say we should use the payment. We can use the payment table as much as we need to.
Use it as much as you want.
Now, why would you, somebody who's in network, if they're using fee schedules, why would you want to use it sparingly for the fee schedule offices?
Because the payment table is a flat fee calculation. And if you have a bunch of stuff in here, it's going to mess with your estimates. And because the coverage table is a percentage, it will fluctuate as that fee schedule fluctuates. So if your fee schedule goes up and you're using a percentage, then your estimate is going to stay right on track. But if your fee schedule goes up and you're using the payment table calculation doesn't move.
Okay. And then what if your office is in network for, let's see, if some of your providers are in network and some are out, do you have any recommendations for that?
So if you have providers, like some of the providers are in network and some of the providers are out of network, you will have to create different insurance plans if you want to do that, because you may have, but it also depends on, if the primary provider is out of network and that patient is never going to see the in-network provider, then you could override the fee schedule up here with your full office fee. That's one option. The other option is to create a Blue Cross in-network and a Blue Cross out-of-network.
Okay.
For the same plan. So you might have an AT&T in-network and an AT&T out-of-network, where you have one has a fee schedule linked up to it and one doesn't.
Got it.
Yeah.
So we did that, and this was in EagleSoft in my practice, but we did that when we had specialists that had different fee schedules than our doctors or what we had in there, right? So you could have that. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So if you have a specialist that comes in, if a specialist comes in, then you can override the fee and the treatment plan. And that was going to kind of be my next thing I was going to show you guys, is if you're going to put in a treatment plan, So let's say we're going to treatment plan. Can you see my chart now?
Yep,
Okay.
we see here.
All right. So let's say we're going to treatment plan, you know, a crown, build up and seat here. And let's say the patient has, you know, maxed out. And you can override the fee here if you want to for this particular patient. You can also override the insurance estimate. So, you know, and this is for very high level users. If you're going to use this override, make sure that you really understand what it does, because, you know, it's really for high level users here. Is sometimes patients will be having treatment done over 2 benefit years. So let's say, for example, the patient is having the crown done now, they're having it prepped in December, but their insurance pays on the seat date and they're having it seated in January. So you can come in here and override the insurance estimate for that patient, that particular procedure code.
But remember, that's for high-level users, so don't get in the habit of doing that.
I know, because a lot of times people forget that they put something in here, and then they wonder why it's estimating weird, you know. But
Yeah.
Same thing could happen here. For example, if you have say that this plan doesn't pay on posterior crowns, you know, this is also a place where you could come in here and put in a 0 and override that insurance estimate, because we don't have a different code for a posterior crown.
Right. Is there a place we can pull a list of accounts that have payment table entries?
Not the payment table entries, no.
Okay.
Mm-mm. Okay, so a couple other tips on different types of plan exceptions or different kind of plan rules or benefits. Some states have plans that are incentive levels. And, you know, I used to live in the state of Washington, and that's where I worked in 2 dental practices. And we had our school district plan was an incentive plan where if you have a patient who comes in consistently every year, their incentive level goes up. And sometimes you could have one family member on 100% and you have another family member who's on 70%. And how do you connect up the plans correctly to the different patients? So that's another thing that you might come across. Like, for example, Arthur here. Arthur might be at the 100% level plan. So let's say, for example, this AT&T plan is the 100%, and we're going to link up that to Arthur. But let's say that Kendra is only at 70. What you have to do here, which is a little bit weird, but this is how you have to do it. You would say, okay, I'm going to take this allied plan, and I'm going to link that to Kendra. You know, so you'd come in here and you'd link this one up to Kendra. So now Kendra's on a different plan. Then let's say Arthur is only on the AT&T plan. You have to come in here and say current patient and then put Arthur on a different plan. So let's say he's on this AT&T. And this is how you'd have to do incentive levels. Is you have to link it up to Kendra. So now you can see Kendra's on a different plan. So she may be on 70%, but Arthur's on the 100% plan. So that's how you would deal with incentive levels. Another thing that's, go ahead.
I was going to say, I found some other questions over here, and this may be kind of in what you're talking about, I'm not sure, but they have a few patients whose insurance has a unique maximum, like preventative and diagnostics are not deducted from the annual maximum. Is there a way to handle that?
Not yet. So Dentrix is in the process over the next year. They are in the process of completely rebuilding their insurance module. And so I'm on the advisory board for that. And so we get updates, you know, every couple months about new screenshots and what it's going to look like. And so that's coming in the next, you know, 12 months or so with a completely revamped insurance module because of all these crazy different rules and frequencies and exceptions. And so right now we can't deal with some of them. We can't deal with if a certain procedure is not, you know, allocated to the max, things like that. You know, things like exceptions to posterior crowns. We really can't allot for that unless we manually override it on the treatment plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
And someone mentioned, this might be a glitch, so this one I'm not sure. In my experience, the treatment plan doesn't print correctly if you don't use the fee schedule in the patient file.
Doesn't print correctly.
That sounds more like maybe an issue in their software.
Well, just maybe with, you know, usually what I find is if treatment estimates are not coming out accurately, it usually has something to do with their setup. I know that the system works because I've used it for 18 years in my own practice. And once I troubleshoot it with an office, we usually figure out what happened. It's usually that there's something in the payment table that shouldn't be there. It's usually something where they've overrode the insurance estimate for that particular procedure code or something, or they have the fee schedule listed up here in the family file, so it's overriding the insurance fee schedule. It's usually something to do with the setup or the something in the payment table or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, because I know the software works. So it's usually once I troubleshoot it with an office, we can usually figure it out.
All right, perfect.
Yeah. Another thing I want to touch on is copay plans. When I moved to Colorado, I noticed that there were a ton of copay plans here in the state of Colorado. And so I had to learn how to figure those out. And so the easiest way to deal with copay plans, and for those of you that may not even know what a copay plan is, what it does is it says, okay, for the pro fee, the office can charge, you know, whatever they want, their full fee, but the patient has to pay a copay of $20, and then the insurance plan picks up the balance. You also may see it flipped where the plan will say the patient the insurance company will pay $20 and then the patient has to pay the difference. So then you have to do a little bit of manual calculation there. But the way you deal with copay is usually what you're going to do is you're going to select a different table. So you're going to use this all procedures coverage table instead of the default, because watch what that does is see how it puts in all the procedure codes. And then what you would do is you would say, okay, the patient has to pay a copay of $10 towards the exam, but then the insurance company is going to pick up 100% after that. And then the second piece to that is you have to select which copay calculation you're going to use. Typically, it's going to be this middle one, which is the total fee minus the patient's copay, which is $10, times the coverage percentage. So if the patient owes $10 for every exam, then the insurance company will pick up 100% after that. So that's how how copays work. And then you have to go through and put in what is the copay for each procedure code. And if you are signed up with any of these types of plans, you should have a document that shows what all the copays are for each procedure code. You know, so maybe it's $20 for the pro fee, $10 for the exam, things like that.
Okay, cool. We have about 5 minutes left because I want to make sure we keep this in under an hour. I know there's a few questions, specific questions that have come in for practices, and I'm going to make sure we get those to Dayna so that she can handle those.
Okay, sounds good.
So do you have anything else that you want to make sure you go over today?
No, I'm just going to set these appointments complete so you can see what a day sheet looks like.
Perfect.
And so you can ask me the questions.
Well, most of them are pretty much, they're specific to practices.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, yeah. So those will be ones I think that will direct directly to you.
Okay, that sounds good.
You were talking about the next version of Dentrix or things that Dentrix are working on. And somebody asked about, will Dentrix allow for in-house plans in the next module for like the membership programs for insurance? Because they're currently having issues with, putting that into Dentrix and making it work for them because it causes confusion to the patients.
Well, membership plans, you can do the setup now. And, anybody that wants to reach out to me directly, I can send them a tip sheet on setting up membership plans because I have several offices that are using Clear for membership plans, or they've created their own membership plans. So I have a tip sheet if anybody wants me to send it to them.
Perfect. Okay, great.
But membership plans you can do now. All right, so let me show you what the day sheet might look like. So see right here on the day sheet where I've compared the day sheet to the office fee schedule. So this is where you'll be able to see the difference between what was billed out compared to the full office fee. So you'll see here, let me scroll down a little bit. Let me get my little drawing tool out. Where did there we go. I can just draw on here. It's pretty cool. So right here, the charges, that is what got billed to the patient's ledger. Okay. And then right here, the compared to office, that's what would have been charged to the patient's ledger if you would have been using full fee for everybody. And then the net difference right here, the $633 is technically what your write-off would be after you get those insurance checks in. So that's your difference between full fee and fee schedule fee. So this is one way where doctors and accountants will be able to see that difference between the full fees and the fee schedules.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. All right. I just want to make sure we cover everything because like I said, we've got a couple small questions, but more that are just going to be directed to the office. So unless anybody has any specific questions to this, did you have anything else you want to remind anyone on, Dayna?
Yeah, no, I think we went through it all and just, I know there's so many different rules with insurance companies and sometimes it's just good to talk it out with somebody. So I'm on the Dentrix user Facebook group quite often. So if you tag me in a post, I'd be more than happy to respond. If you shoot me an email, I'll respond. You can join Novonee and join our community, and then you'll have access to all of my forum questions and all my webinars. And so lots of resources, lots of places for you guys to get help. I'm just here to create Dentrix super users, and that's just my ultimate goal in life. So, however I can help and help you with the questions that you have, I'm here to help you guys. So just feel free to reach out.
So for everybody listening live, there are a couple questions. I'll make sure we get those to Dayna specific to your office. For those that were looking for her tip sheet, you can find her on social media with Novonee. Do you want to give an email out or a website or something?
Yeah, they can email me directly at Dayna, it's DAYNA, at Novonee, NOVONEE.com. You can get on the Dentrix user Facebook group. You can go to Novonee Facebook, and type me a message. Anyway, I'm really easy to get a hold of.
And then for everybody else listening, with Laura with Front Office Rocks, you can reach us at frontofficerocks.com. We have more webinars like this available to clients, and then on our YouTube channel. So this will be saved and hosted on Front Office Rocks YouTube channel. So you can go back and watch this later if you want to rewatch some of the great things that Dayna taught us. And if you have other questions, if you want to refer other people to these webinars, like we said, we're doing this as a service to help Dentrix super users out there and help you guys maximize everything that you need in your practice. So if you need anything else from Front Office Rocks, you can just go to frontofficerocks.com or email me at info@frontofficerocks.com. And if you can't get a hold of Dayna, we will make sure we get you in touch with Dayna. So Dayna, thank you so much for all of your help today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we'll look for another one of these. If you guys have ideas, please send us emails, comments, and we will put together the next training for you guys, or shouldn't say training, I guess, help, tips, and tricks for you with the Dentrix. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And if it's still, you're watching this live, have a great holiday, and we'll be back next year. Thank you, everybody. All right. Bye, Dayna.
Bye-bye.